projected growth has been reduced by the IMF as well as all other monetary bodies. So the first thing we're going to think about is what is really a recession. It's a chain of events that happens in the economy. It could occur such as disruptions in the supply chain, a financial crisis, or a world event. And what we can see right now is that we've had a host of these. We've had everything from, we have the Russian-Ukraine war, we've had a recent pandemic, we've had all sorts of things happening, which has really just caused strife in the economy. So although previous economics and pandemics have actually occurred, some sorts of people have actually thrived. The usual thing is that a lot of people tend to not do well during a recession. We have sort of like a wealth shakeup. The rich tend to get richer and the poor tend to get poorer. But some people, some normal average people, have been able to turn out quite rich and actually have thrived during these recessions. So it is what some of the things that average people are doing, like everyday people like me and me are doing, that we want to talk about. We want to see what they're doing and what are some of the tactics that we can put in place or the steps we can take to actually come out of this recession much better and stronger. So before apologies, I had a bit of a technical difficulty. So yes, I will be introducing, before I start, where was I? I will be introducing our panelists today. And my first panelist is Edwina Ugu. She's a client coverage manager at First Ally Asset Management. Edwina has worked in various capacities spanning investment management, legal advisory, operations, corporate and client services. She has a wealth of diversified experience and client knowledge, which actually really equips her to give a good view on what we need to be doing to really come out of the recession or any sort of economic crisis better and stronger. Then our next panelist is Ogechukwu Nnadozie. Ogechukwu is currently the business development lead at First Ally Properties. He has over 15 years of experience in real estate and facilities management, and his career has traversed both professional and corporate real estate, construction, facility management operations within Nigeria and the UK. So in terms of giving us a diverse or different perspective, Ogechukwu is really our guy for that. We're very grateful for him joining us today. And then our last panelist is the wonderful Toluwani Odukoya-Ijogun, who is a seasoned top-performing brand and marketing strategist. She has over 10 years of experience in various industries. She has extensive brand management and positioning experience, and she's been able to help loads of different companies and businesses obtain market share in different industries as well as geographies. So Tolu has a proven track record of executing innovative and effective marketing strategies to drive sales and improve profitability as well as consumer awareness. So when we're looking at this from a wholesome perspective, Tolu is really who we want to be on this panel talking to us, speaking to us today. And then I'd just like to welcome my panelists. Thank you very much for joining us today. And yes, so we're going to be starting. So I just really like to ask my first question is, and this is for all my panelists, I'd like to start with this question. What is financial independence to you? Do you think it's actually possible in today's day and age? And I'd like to start with Tolu, please.
All right, thank you very much, Funtal. I'm very excited to be on this platform. Hi, Edwina. Hi, Ogechukwu. So I'll just speak in layman's terms. I think financial independence is just, being able to buy what you want when you want it, being able to do what you want and afford what you want when you want it. As a wife and a mother, obviously, things I want to do for my children, things I want to do for myself, not bugging my husband all the time to get the money to do those things. So I do them myself. So independence is just basically having enough money to do what I want, when I want, and how I want. That's how I see it. Thanks.
Right, thank you, Tolu. Ogechukwu, if you'd like to give us what financial independence is to you, and if you think it's possible today, yeah, that'd be great.
Yes. Okay. Hi, Funso, and hi, everybody. Hi to my fellow panelists. Okay, so my approach to this is that I would want to define. I will thank Tola Tolu. I'll thank her for being very direct, and defining context, because I think the approach is to define within what context are we talking of financial independence. I want to talk about it within the context of financial freedom. In doing that, I'll refer to a book or two books that I've come across while researching. One of them is an old book called The Richest Man in Babylon, written by George Clayson, and the other one is Financial Freedom, written by Grant Sabater. Okay, so why I've decided to approach it this way is because it is, while defining financial independence, we need to define context around it. So is it financial independence for an individual? Of course, yes. So financial independence is essentially, it talks about is a stage in financial freedom when you get to the point where you don't necessarily need to depend on a paycheck. Your savings, your investments are sufficient to drive you through. So essentially, you don't need to depend on a month-to-month paycheck. You have investments that you can live off. So I'm pretty much what it essentially denotes is that you have freedom to choose what you want to do, when you want to do. A good example is to say, okay, if I give you $1 million right now, what would you do? Would you come to work tomorrow? Maybe not. If $1 million is enough, but the key thing is that with that money, I can decide not to come to work. I can decide to go on holidays. So I think essentially, when you think about financial independence, that's essentially what it means. Just like Tolu said, is essentially, where you're able to do what you want to do when you want to do. You don't have to go to work. You don't have to, you don't have to depend on a month-to-month paycheck. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Edwina.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. Just to add to what Tolu and Ogechukwu has said, for me, financial independence simply means, the ability or not having to rely on anyone to meet your financial needs. And you had asked Ogechukwu if he thinks it's possible, and I would like to also draw or speak to that just for a minute. So I think that financial independence is very possible because I think it's achievable for individuals on all levels of earnings, really. Once you have a financial plan and a budget, you have a clear view of your current income and expenses, and then you're able to identify some of or have an appropriate strategy to your financial goal. So this is what I think. And just to add also, one of the mottos for me when it comes to financial independence is the FIRE movement. And it's simply financial independence and retire early. So that would be it for me.
Thank you, Edwina, for that. That's actually interesting. Retire early, that's a nice point. I think it's something we should all aspire to do, to be honest. And then my next question really is, this will be pointed towards Tolu, please. Why do you think being financially independent is necessary for everyone?
I think it's very important because, like you said in the beginning, a lot is going on in the world today. There's quite a lot of instability, and being able to have foresight and also plan. It always I'm always going to speak from a point of being a mother. Having kids, one thing that does is it puts you on your toes. You keep thinking forward. You're thinking about university already. You're thinking about secondary school, having funds, emergency funds, God forbid if anything happens, be able to provide and take care of them. So I think it's quite important in terms of foresight and planning. because you just never know. You really just never know. So that's what I'll say.
Thank you very much, Tolu, which is actually, I think you've touched on a couple of important points because, like you said, you just never know. I think you have people around the world saying they can't afford to feed their families anymore. These are people that are working and people that are not just sitting down being lazy, but the rate of inflation, it's double digits basically almost all over the world. The US just keeps on printing money to nothing, and that's just also increasing inflation. You have OPEC coming with their different policies and saying, you know what, we're going to stop giving you oil. And then we have Russia and Ukraine, and I think it's almost like it seems to so many people as if the world is on a brink, and if at that point in time you've not planned your finances or thought of what you're going to do in future, I think it's something that would be very worrying for most people. So thank you very much for that. And my next question is for Edwina, actually. For someone, what are the deciding factors in someone being financially dependent or independent? Hello, Edwina.
Sorry, please, I was trying to unmute. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Okay. For me, some of the deciding factors would be your financial experience, family background, would also be your financial soundness, your financial goals as well, and maybe social welfare. So these are some of the deciding factors for me.
Sorry, Edwina. So social welfare. Sorry, could you explain a bit more what you mean by social welfare?
Okay, so what I mean is, so when it comes to the deciding factor in someone being financially dependent or not, I believe social welfare has a lot to play in the person's life because so growing up, I'll use myself as a case in point. Growing up, I've had to associate with people that have like mindsets like myself, and I've also seen other people that have laid back mentality as to how these things work. So that's where social welfare comes in. So it depends on the people you interact with, mix with, your family background, financial experiences, socially, when you meet with people, there are people that are not on the same level as you are in terms of how you think or what you think about financial independence. And so some people are just laid back. They want to be where they are, no growth, and so on. So that's why I think social welfare also has a lot, or has impacted in a lot of people's mindsets when it has to do with, or comes to do with, financial dependency or independence.
Thank you very much. So I think for me, because I was just thinking when you're talking about social welfare, what came to my mind was maybe something of, like maybe a social state, but thank you for explaining that. So it's more like you're thinking about there's a bit of nurture and nature in it, because it's just not everyone just saying, well, some people, it's their nurture, that's how they, but some people, it's their nature, they're go-getters. They're like, well, I need to do this, I want to do this, these are my goals, my plan, and stuff like that. So thank you very much, Edwina, for that. So my next question is actually towards Ogechukwu. And I think this is for all my panelists. Sorry, guys, but my next question is for someone that wants to be financially independent in this present economy, in this present economic climate. What would you say they need to do? So maybe 2 or 2 things you think that will be important for them to do. Yeah, so please, could we start with Ogechukwu and then we'll go on to Tolu and then Edwina. Thank you.
I want to go first, but that's okay.
Oh, please feel free. Please go first.
Yeah. I've actually started, so.
Sorry,
Edwina. So I think what you do, I think the first thing you do is to get your mind right. You need to think right. You need to be clear on your objectives, because financial independence is actually a relative term. So if for one person, what will make one person find out what one person thinks is fine, if I get this amount of money, X, Y, Z, I'm good for life, but for someone else, it may just be, the starting point, relatively. So I think you need to have the right mindset, set your goals. And the next thing to do is to have a financial plan. And that financial plan has to be long-term, excuse me. But that financial plan has to be long-term. So you have to have a plan for like maybe 10 years. The next thing is to do a balance sheet for yourself. It just sounds big, but like if statement of financial affairs, put your assets on one side, put your liabilities on one side. Your shoes, your shirts, your car, whatever it is, whatever is your asset, your debts, the people we are owing, do it maybe monthly, review it monthly. If you have discipline to do it over a year, it will change your finances because you get to the point where you are like, okay, you'll be looking at building up your assets consciously and bringing down your liabilities consciously. So that way you can now move along that financial plan. So the points where you will now achieve your objectives. Thank you.
All right, I'll just go ahead. So for me, one thing that's key, just adding to what Ogechi has said, nothing is too small to start investing with. I think when people hear about investments, they think, oh, I need to have this amount of money to start, or I need to, one thing that has helped me is start where you are and start small, and you need to think long term. There's a saying that I always think about when I think about investment is little drops make an ocean. It's the little drops that are actually going to accumulate to then make a big ocean. And how I do it is because I've got staff at home. So once I get my salary and I pay my staff, I pay myself. I also pay myself, and then I have my emergency fund. And the money that I used to pay myself, I start putting it in investments. Work with a company that you trust, and stop putting, even if it's 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira. Today, they're like investment portfolios that can start as low as 5K, 10K. Just start putting something away. And like Ogechi said, long term is very important. Yeah, it might be dipping right now. It's not looking good. You're panicking. Leave it there for the long term. I think it's quite important. That's what I'd say.
Okay, I think Tolu is done. Edwina, please.
Okay. So again, just to add to what Tolu and Oge has said, one thing that was left out is, so one of the action points for me would be to get professional financial advice, and that's where First Ally Asset Management comes in, of course. So at FAM, we're able to, help clients, meet their investment needs and objectives. So that would be it. And one of the action points for me too is for people to start now to eliminate their debt. So these are the two that I would like to add as one of my action points. Get financial advice from reputable financial institutions like the likes of First Ally Asset Management, which is why we're here. So I believe that as we go on, there would be an opportunity to also digress further into what I've just said.
All right, thank you very much, Edwina. So my next question is, I think Edwina could actually just start with this because it's basically just like if it dovetails what you all actually just picked on or talked about, which is, and I would really love for maybe Edwina and Tolu to focus on this because I have something else in mind for Ogechukwu. So how do you think investing can ensure financial freedom?
Okay, so before I start that, I would like to quote one of the legendary investors that we've had by the name Warren Buffett, and I quote, "If you don't find a way to make money while you sleep, you would work until you die. All right. So the question now is, how do you then make your money work for you and live the life of your dreams? And like I said, this is where First Ally comes in. So at First Ally Farm, we're able to create opportunities that foster growth and, continuously seek to create value for the clients that we manage. We also offer investment solutions to a diverse clientele base, and this includes both retail clients, high net worth individuals, corporate and institutional clients. And we have, products that just cuts across, the different clientele base that we have. And also, one of the benefits to investing in FAM is that you gain access to financial goal-based investments. And at FAM, we also believe that one of our primary objectives are to preserve clients' capital and also generate positive real returns by actively managing the risks. So these are, the few things that we can help, or how we can help to, start, having like a financial literacy webinars for our guests here on, and to help them, pinpoint where exactly they need to start. And like Tolu also mentioned, no money is too small. So people usually go by that mindset that they want to wait till they have 10 billion in their account before they start investing. However, I'll always use myself as a case in point. When I started investing was, I think, after my National Youth Service. And as at then, I didn't see the need for it because, of course, the money was small, the interest rates didn't really make sense to me. But I mean, it all added up. The more I invested, the higher the interest rates. And I can tell you, between when I served and now, I know, how far I have been able to grow my funds. And I'm also one of the word I used, financial independence and retire early. Even though that some of the people that, use this motto, they end up not retiring early, because they always want their money to keep working for them. But the whole idea is to get to a point where you're financially stable to make choices for yourself. In most cases, you can also have the income made on some of your investments also work for you. So you find yourself reinvesting the income that you've been able to, invest in some of our various products. So yeah, that's it for me.
I think Adriana has said most of it, but there's something that I was thinking about when she was speaking, something I wish I knew earlier in my 20s. It's called compounding interest. The earlier you start, the more likely you're going to make a lot of money. The more you obviously continue to invest. Definitely find a company that you trust and start early. Nothing is too small. And also diversify your portfolio. Now, I'm not a finance person. I'm sure that Edwina and Ogechi can speak more to that. But one thing that I have done is try to put money everywhere. And in some places where I might get higher returns, some places that it would take some time in terms of compounding interest, and obviously saving for my children. Just start a savings culture, start an investment culture. I'm not a big savings fan because you put it in the bank, it's not doing anything, it's not giving you any money. Put it in investments, at least you're getting something on it. It makes more sense. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
Hey, thank you so much, Edwina and Tolu. I think you've actually given us a couple of things to actually think about. Starting early, diversifying your portfolio. Nothing is too small, and we should actually just work towards trying to like maybe retire early, so that financial freedom, so that everyone can. I know a lot of people are like, oh, wait till when you retire to travel. Sometimes you also want to travel as you're working, but still save. That's not all. I really think that's also really just important. Like you've also really highlighted some important points, because nothing is too small. Because I know personally, for me, until I started working or anything like that, even when maybe when I was in uni and I had my parents and he had an allowance, I had friends that would say, okay, I'm not going to use all of my allowance, I would save. some of it, I'll put some of it alone and put some of it away. I used to put some of it away. And what I used to do with what I put away was I had to go shopping at the end of the term. Very bad, but that was my saving. I was saving towards my shopping. But at the end of the day, I think if I had invested most of that money, I know the difference it would have made, because not just saving and putting it in an account that's not doing anything, actually helping you to grow and helping that money work for you. So those are just some important points. Thank you so much for that. And then my next question, Ogechukwu, this is for you. So as a real estate professional, and someone that has been in the industry for some time, what role do you think real estate plays in thriving or actually gaining financial independence, most especially in a recession or in an economic crisis?
Thank you very much. That's actually a good question. One of the characteristics of real estate is that it's a good hedge. It hedges on inflation. So what that means is that, like in a recessionary economy, the growth is below the threshold that population, finally, the growth in the economy is below the threshold of population growth, because a recession is essentially when the stipulated or based on what your indices, your economic indices, the economy should grow at a particular rate every year. So when that doesn't happen, like in our own country, and when you have hyperinflation like we have, putting your money into real estate helps, because essentially real estate values, a couple of values from real estate, they move with inflation over time. It might not be immediate, because depending on the market that you're playing within, there are some markets that are slower than some markets. Okay, but having said that, that real estate is good because it hedges inflation, it's not just every real estate. So you have to also choose the right deal. You have to select the right deal. Talking about the right deal is another topic, but I think that those are the key things. Real estate is good. Of course, to enter into real estate takes a bit of capital, so you should have done it. I heard when Edwina was talking about saving and investing. So I think that is where you start. You don't start with real estate, even though you can start small with real estate. That's another topic also, starting small real estate, knowing how to get into real estate, especially in Nigeria, where we don't have access to good long-term credits. We don't necessarily have that, so it's a bit more difficult, but there are ways you can come into real estate with a little money and build gradually. One of those ways is a project that we have in First Allied Properties. It's at Orchard Road, Ocean Bay Estates. There are units, there are different types of units there. And we internally, we can allow you to pay over a year, or we can also get you a good mortgage that's maybe 22–23% over 10 years. So if you can fulfill those, and to fulfill them, I don't want to talk too much about, because it's actually, there's a lot to it, but to fulfill those requirements to get the budget, to get the mortgage, you'd be surprised you may be able to. And the thing about real estate also is that there's a strict about getting the right real estate deal, is that you have to look for deals that guarantee a return, steady flow of income, like from rent. So if you're choosing a deal, then you have to also choose, because real estate, if real estate is not any income, if there's no income coming from real estate, then it's not really good. So if you're going to invest in real estate, always look out for real estate that has good income and real estate that is also not too difficult to come out of. Because there's some properties, you buy into them, to sell them becomes a problem. And finally, for somebody who is looking to effectively build your investments, you need to be able to get investments that you can get out of. So those are the things that you have to watch out for. Real estate is actually quite good, to get into that inflationary economy. Thank you.
Thank you
Sorry,
very much.
I have a question for Oge. You said, what was the percentage you said on the real estate?
I think I was talking about inflation. Was that what I was
No,
talking
no, no, no.
about?
If I wanted to get the real estate from you guys, you said there was a percentage. Did you say 20 to 23 or 2 to 3?
Okay, you read the mortgage. Yes, we have a relationship with some mortgage institutions, PMIs, for our properties where you can get 23%, you know, on a loan. So what that means is, for instance, if you want to buy a property for 40 million, and that means to spread it over 10 years, that's 4 million per annum over 10 years. And 20% of that is about 4 million, 20% about 800. So you pay 4.8 every year. So essentially, each year you pay 4.8 for until you pay it down. So getting into real estate that way, it allows you to get into real estate without being too big. But the thing is, if you buy real estate that will generate income, you take that, for instance, rent. So when you buy the house, you put it on rent, you don't have to live there. Then the rent, you're getting the rent, and you're adding up, maybe the rent is probably not enough to cover what you need to pay every year. So you're adding up some additional income. You know, so that way you can take time and pay off your mortgage, you know, and you still have the property. And even while you're paying off the mortgage, you can actually sell. You know, you can actually do a second mortgage, sell the property, you know, and buy another property. It's not what we can really discuss here, but there's a path, you know, that you can follow and build wealth. But when you start getting bigger, then it's time to invest in properties that are multiple units. Those are the best deals for investors. You know, units that are not just one unit, but maybe an apartment block, not less than 4 to 8 units. So that way you diversify your risk. You're not depending on one source. And also those type of properties are easier because they don't cost too much. You know, it's easier to push it out on the market. So
It's pretty good. Thank you for that.
Great, thanks. Oh yes, my next question. Sorry, I got very enthralled in the conversation. I was like, oh, I had 2 questions to ask. So my next question is, and I think this question is for everyone really. How do you think you can survive a recession and thrive afterwards? Or how do you think you can survive a difficult economic situation or economic crisis and thrive afterwards? And maybe we will start with Edwina, and then we'll move on to Tolu and then Oge.
Okay, so for me, it would be, and of course, I always have to tie it to investments, all right? So for me, it's having the right strategy, all right? Because whether there's a recession or no recession, it's having a good strategy that would help you, you know, stand the test of time or survive during a recession. So for me, it's developing a strategy that works for you, first and foremost, you know, setting realistic goals for yourself also. And if I had to tie that down, you know, to investments, so I would narrow it down to, by the time you set out some of these realistic goals for you, you're able to map out some of the do's and don'ts that you need for yourself, you know, first and foremost. So you have to narrow things down on how you want to, you know, move going forward, as long as you're in, for instance, Nigeria. So for me, how I've been able to strive and still strive in it, I've been able to, so I have a strategy, of course, in place. And one of the set goals that I've set for myself is to look at, you know, my expenses, and I've been able to cut down on some of my expenses that I don't feel that. So I've been able to, you know, target between my wants and my needs. So I have been able to focus on my needs as opposed to my wants. So these are the ways I've been able to strive. And of course, investing in, you know, having safe investments that have been yielding me relatively safe income on some of these investments. And like Tolu said earlier on, also capitalizing on some of this compound interest and reinvesting it again. So these are the various ways that I've been able to plan my life, and it's worked out perfectly for me. So one would be to set realistic goals for yourself and have a strategy as to how you can survive at a recession at any point in time. So that's what has worked for me.
I think Adriana has done a fantastic job on that answer. She said everything. And one thing that I has actually worked for me is, you know, in cutting down on my expenses, I've become more creative in the way I do things. So instead of going out every Friday with my friends to have dinner, just kind of do it at home, you know, just because sometimes when you cut on expenses, you kind of just, you cut all the fun out of it. And then when you think about it, you're thinking, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this or do that. And just become creative and start, you know, doing things yourself, with your friends, watch the movie in your house. Don't have to go to the movies. You don't know until you add up how much you're spending over a period of time, and look for creative ways to have fun. Given that right now, financially, there's a lot going on, and just pace yourself, still have fun, but you don't need to have too much fun. And have a financial partner, like Edwina says, that you trust, that's telling you where to place your money, what to do, hoping that, you know, everything will kind of like stabilize. And when it does stabilize, then you can, you know, have a bit more fun. But for now, yeah, that's what I think.
Okay. Sorry, okay, Chiku.
Okay, yes, I couldn't quite hear either. Okay, so could I get that question again?
No worries. The question: how can you survive a recession and thrive afterwards?
And thrive afterwards. Okay.
Yes.
How can you? Well, you need to be disciplined. You need to be financially disciplined. You know, you can't. You know, when a lot of people say there's no hard and fast rule to it, but you need to save some of your income. Some people say you need to save as much as 40% of your monthly income. That may be too much, but what I recommend is to do at least 20% of your income. Save it. You have to find a way to survive with the rest of it. What you do with the rest of it also, you can't even have all the rest of it, because you still have to, like in our society, where you still have to help your parents, where you still have to give to the church, you know, if you're a Christian, when you still have to do other things, you know, apart from taking care of yourself. So out of what you save, when you're able to pull resources together, then you have to try and invest. And our advice, if you're saving, you don't necessarily need to save in a traditional bank or in a traditional bank account. And that's where, you know, people like us come in, First Ally, because we have an asset management business. You know, so you can save into the asset, you know, build your, don't necessarily have to be in a hurry. And that's why it's a long-term thing. So think it's a lifetime plan, have a lifetime plan, set up your goals. You need a lot of clarity to say, okay, this is where I want to be at this particular time, and this is the kind of life I want to live. So when you have all those, when you made those plans, then you start to move gradually. Earlier on, I referenced a book on financial freedom written by Grant Sabator. Grant Sabator, what he did is that he did a 1 to 7 scale, financial freedom scale. We start from clarity to self-sufficiency to breathing room, stability, flexibility, financial independence, then abundant wealth. I don't think it's necessary for me to go through what each one means, but essentially you just have to take your time and build on your savings, start investing, be very deliberate about how you're investing, and you have to also your objectives are important. So when you're investing in line with your objectives. Of course, our advice, you know, as early as possible, try and get into real estate. because real estate is a very good way to hold your wealth. So try and get into those, regardless of how small it is. Try and get in and be financially responsible. Like my co-panelists have said, you need to focus on, those things that are necessary. Of course, you need to have some fun as well, like Tolu said, you go for holidays. But I think that is more of a function of how hard you work. You need to work harder. You need to earn more money. So I won't say you need to, because that brings us back to your objectives. Because not everybody, I mean, it's a good thing to be financially free, to be financially independent, and I know most people want to be, but what defines that definition is a relative one. But the key thing is, I mean, you're moving towards happiness, towards getting to the point. And I think one thing I missed is, how do you think about money? What do you think money is? A lot of people think money is something you take to just buy things. But that's not really what money is. Money what money does is that it expands your choices. So I think if you think, so you have to, we all have to change how we think about what we think and how we think, money works. Money is sweet. So when you get money, what it does is that it gives you more choices and it gives you greater flexibility. So if you think about money that way, then it's easier for you to look away from things that don't necessarily build or give you value over time, and to focus on those things that give you value, and also understand that, your financial happiness and your financial independence has a lot to do with the decisions you make. You have to be responsible about the decisions you make and the choices you make, especially for those ones here, our audience here who are between the ages of 20 and 30. It's a very critical period, so you have to get it. If you can get a proper plan within those 10 years, then by the time you're 50, you should be financially independent and you should be able to retire by that time. Yes, if you have a good plan, and you follow through and you start early, keep away from things like drugs, like alcohol, those things, especially for the young ones, those things, I'm not trying to preach, but it's research. It's based on the research I've done. Those things kind of waste your time. It's not immoral, so try and manage your time better. Focus on those things that will bring value and also, as soon as you're getting bigger and bigger, also think about helping others. That's something that is also very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ogechukwu. I think someone actually popped and asked for the name of the book. If you could just type that out in the chat so everyone has that. I think now we're going to actually move towards questions, if we have anyone that has questions. So we have about 5 to 10 minutes for questions. I should have asked everyone to type their questions out when they came up. But if you do have questions, please just raise your hand if you have a question and we will get to you. All right, it seems as if we don't really have many. Oh, okay, someone is asking, what are some of the products that we can invest in? So I think I would give this to Edwina. Edwina, if you could just give us a few of the products that we can actually invest in. Thank you.
Yes, please. Thank you, Adetola, for that question. So at FAM, we have various investments for both USD and Naira investments. So I'll start with the USD products. We have our dollar fund, and it's yielding between 5 to 6%. We also have the fixed rate notes dollar investment. This gives you the flexibility to invest for either 90 days, 180 days, or 365 days, as the case may be. So depending on your liquidity needs or objectives, you can then decide, oh, okay, would I be needing the funds before 180 days. Now the 90 days can accommodate those funds. And if you won't be needing it maybe within now and a year, then you can stretch to a 365 days placement. And the rate ranges between 5 to 7% on the fixed rate notes USD placement. Now, we also have the Eurobond investments. These are dollar denominated investments. And the minimum lot for a standard Eurobond is $200,000. So this gives room for clients who are looking to invest in longer tenor investments and are looking to do more than a 1 year placement. So then you can then decide whether you want to be investing in any of the corporate bonds, bank bonds, or the Nigerian bonds, or maybe any sovereign bonds, as the case may be. So at FAM, we're able to facilitate both the purchases and sales in the market. And then for the Naira products, we have the fixed rate notes Naira placement, also ranging between 90 days to 365 days tenor. And the rates can go as high as 15%, depending on the amount and the tenor that you're looking at investing in. So we also, and the minimum amount for the fixed rate notes is from 10 million Naira and above. And for clients who are unable to start with a 10 million Naira, we then have our mutual funds, the high yield investment scheme, and the money market fund. So the money market fund is regulated by SEC, the Securities and Exchange Commission, while the high yield investment scheme is a privately managed account. So for the high yield investment scheme and the money market fund, you have lock-in periods of 90 days. And what that means is if you want to take the funds invested before 90 days, it will attract a penalty on the interest that has accrued on the investment. However, after the 90 days lock-in period, you can, the investment can run for you or work for you as a regular bank account. So there won't be any penalties charged after 90 days lock-in period. And then you can always add to your investment and redeem. Let's say you invest a 5 million Naira and you want to take out 1 million Naira out of it 2 months later, you can do that. So that gives you the flexibility. So depending on the investor's appetite and objectives, we have these various investments that can accommodate that. Also, we also provide tailored investments to bespoke services to clients as well. We're able to sit down, once we're able to sit down with our clients to understand exactly what they're looking at doing, what their long-term objectives are, or even the short-term objectives are, then we're able to advise on which products that would suit the client best. So basically, in a nutshell, we have both Naira and USD investments. So someone is also asking for real estate opportunities. So I would let Ogechukwu take that as well.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. The real estate opportunities that we have present, we have a number of them, but we have a project that is interesting. It's in Orchard, it's along Orchard Road, Ocean Bay Estate to be exact. If you know that Chevron Lekki Conservation neighborhood is somewhere there. We have a number of units, really a fully detached house, semi-detached houses, terraces, and block of flats. I would, very interesting property there that depending on how you want to invest and where you want to start from. But we have 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom flats, so, and I think those apartments, they're a good investment because the entry is not as high as the others and the rental market is not bad for that type of property. So I think those are the kind of, that is an opportunity that you can key into. But we have other projects as well, which we could discuss offline, you know, depending on we need to understand better about, you know, what your objectives are and what type of investment they are looking at, you know, how long, you know, and basically what your objectives are. When we understand that better, then we can also make recommendations on some other products. Thank you.
Funta, are you there?
Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I was still muted. I am so sorry. I was talking off. I thought I was unmuted. I was saying we had one last question. We had two more questions. One person was asking about the difference between saving and investing, if anyone wanted to go for that.
Okay, I might as well. So I would say saving and investment. The difference would be, take for instance, for me, so I have two, I'm personally operating two. What the savings does for me, it's a no-go area for me, for lack of better word. So where I put in my savings investment, I already know that I am not supposed to touch this fund. So for me, it serves like preparedness for contingencies, as the case may be. While investing, I can decide to invest maybe a 5 million naira in one of First Ally Asset Management products. And after 90 days, if there's a better opportunity in another of funds products, I can then quickly diversify, and then my investments just keep running like that. And I continue to earn very competitive rates on some of these investments, as opposed to my savings, where I lock it up in maybe one of the mutual funds or a fixed rate note, or let's say a Euro bond investment that matures in, let's say, year 2026. And I know that this is for my savings and I am that principled enough not to touch it. So that's what this two would mean for me. I don't know if any of the panelists have contrary opinions to that.
Thank you, Edwina. Tolu or Oge, would you like to add anything to that, or do you think that works?
Well, she's
okay, go ahead.
Okay. No, ladies first.
I was just gonna say, one thing that I do, because you know, in Nigeria, most people have more than one bank account, right? So what I do is I only have a card for the account that I spend from. And then in other accounts, I probably use as my savings, apart from what I put in investments. So before I can get that money out, I need to it's almost like you have gates to kind of check yourself. So in order for me to get more money, I can't just spend out of any other account but the account that I have a card in. If that money finishes, then I have to ask myself, why, how much, how did I get here? First of all, did I overspend this month? You know, was there an emergency? What happened? And that has really curtailed my spending. I don't know about anybody else. I'm one of those people that I like to buy. I'm a spontaneous shopper. Anything beautiful attracts me. So I have to emotionally put a lot of things in place to ensure that I don't overspend my monthly budget, and I do try to invest as much as possible.
Sorry, just to add to what Tolu has said. So unlike me and Tolu, so I use, just to add that, as opposed to leaving my funds in the bank, because I'm aware of the products and services that First Ally Asset Management renders. So I rarely leave a huge amount of money in the bank. So what First Ally does for me is that it also serves as a bank for me. So I have funds locked in, and I also have funds in the mutual funds where I can operate as a regular savings account or bank account. So yeah, it's similar to what I do too. So but instead of the bank, I use First Ally, because it's pretty much, so bank don't give you as much competitive rates as what an asset management firm or First Ally would give you. So I rather my money continuously works for me and, gives me, good return on the investment. So that would be for me.
Yes, I mean, they absolutely, tore it apart, but what I would just add is that, I think savings and investments is like someone on a journey. You start with saving, because even when you're saving, it's a type of investment. It's just that, of course, the returns are lower because your objectives with savings are different from your objectives with investing. When you're investing, then of course the returns are higher, and it's the objective is different. So you start with savings. You have to pull some money together. Of course, there's a rate of return, like Edwina said. It's better you save, with like First Ally, because of course the returns are better than a traditional commercial bank. Then from there, when you pull together enough funds, then you can move into actively investing. I think the key thing about investing is a concept called passive income. So essentially what that means is that I'm sitting somewhere and my money is working for me. I don't know what they're using the money to do. Like for instance, here in First Ally, I give them money. I don't know what they talk about mutual funds, bonds and all that, a lot of big English shares, and just give me just at the end of the month, just prepare my interest and give me. So I think that is essentially the difference. With an investment, you're thinking of passive income, but with savings, you're thinking of pulling money together to do something. It might be to invest, it may not necessarily be, it may be some other goal, but I hope that whatever goal it is, it's something that is going to give you added value. Thank you.
Right. Thank you very much. So we're about to round up. So I just want to summarize a bit of what has happened or what we've discussed today. First, I'd like to thank all my panelists. Thank you so much, Tolu, Oge, and Edwina, for your insightful advice and your really good advice. And I know that if we put some of these into practice, we will also all be thriving at the end of this season. But just to summarize, I think the people that are going to end up thriving are those who start early, those who understand or start looking into compounding interest, those who are diversifying their portfolios, those that interest in terms of looking at real estate, those that also start small really, but also look at deals that give them a return, will also earn them some sort of income and things like that. And having those that have the right strategy and those that set realistic goals. So these are the people that would really thrive during a recession and during an economic crisis. And if we can put some of these into practice, we will definitely be thriving at the end of this period. I hope we've all been able to identify all these goals and we'll also be exploring new opportunities with farm if we don't already have opportunities with farm. So if you're interested in any of these, I noticed that someone asked for a product paper. Please we will be sending to everyone that signed up, we will be sending some information about farm as well as the first alcove property, which some people have actually been very interested in. So we'll send all this information to everyone that signed up for the event. Thank you so much to everyone that has joined us, and we have come to the end of our webinar. I want to once more thank my panelists. Thank you everyone, and have a wonderful rest of the day and wonderful weekend. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Funton. Thank you
very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Everyone,
Bye-bye.
thank you.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.